Hi and welcome back to the Old Tech Bloke channel. It's been a week since the last video and I thought it may well be time to do another ramble. It's been an absolutely crazy 3 or 4 weeks in my life, and I've spent most of the working weeks away from home, so I haven't had as much time to spend on this channel as I would have liked. However, I've now got a week's holiday, so it's time for a breather. And before I start, let me just say, I know I'm wearing an Ubuntu Mate coat, and I'm running an Arch at the moment. I'm simply wearing the coat because I'm cold. We've got our Lancashire weather back. It's cold, it's raining, and that's probably what we're going to get for the rest of the year, to be honest. But back to the show as such. I thought it might be time to do a ramble, so I could do a little bit of a channel update and talk about where I've got to, where I'm going in the future, and what sort of things I have in my mind. I also want to look back at where we've got to so far and some of the reactions to the videos I've produced, which generally speaking have been really positive. This is video number 33, and on the 1st of October, the channel will only have been going for 4 months. My first video went up on the 1st of June, so I think 33 videos in 4 months is pretty good going for a new channel. And what I'm even more impressed about is the fact that I've got over 1,500 subscribers. I had the big bump when Derek from DistroTube gave me a mention, and it threw me up to 1,000 very quickly. But the additional 500 I would like to think is because of the content that I've produced. So enough of that. So the channel's going pretty well, I feel. I'm still finding my way regarding what sort of videos suit the channel, what my general approach will be. And to be honest, from listening to other YouTubers, most seem to say that you don't really find your feet until you've got about 100 videos out there, and I can understand why. I started this channel as a hobby. I just wanted to see if I could get something up and running, and I had lots of things running in my head about what I wanted to cover. I didn't have to think about content because I wanted to do certain tutorials, I wanted to review various distros, but they're now done. And the channel sort of feels like it's got to a stage where each week I'm thinking about, right, what can I produce? What would I find interesting, and what would my subscribers find interesting? And I've done a mix. Let me just switch over very quickly to the channel page. 1.53 subscribers, and this will be video number 33. And as you can see, I've produced a fair few things. Everything from my initial steps on the 1st of June, where I was putting my hardware together, a few how-tos, which were inspired by problems and issues I came across whilst I was building this channel, through to the reviews, a couple of controversial little pieces, which probably installing Office 365 in Linux was one of them, as was my contribution to the RMS and Linus Torvalds debate. And the last 4 videos, well, they're a real mix. One distro to rule them all, where I was essentially talking about my decision to move to Arch as my main distro. And I'll admit, one distro to rule them all just came into my head. I'm a big Tolkien fan and Lord of the Rings fan, and it seemed to fit the bill. Okay, it was a bit clickbaity, but people seem to have liked it. I never go off the number of views that a video has. I go more off the comments. and the comments I find really useful. Keep them going, guys. I know I take a while to get to them, and that's normally because I'm away all week, so I have to catch up at the weekend, but I'm finding them really useful. I suspected that part of the reason my one distro to rule them all video got so many views was because I was talking about Arch Linux, which seems to be in the ascendancy at the moment, and so I sort of moved on to do the Arch install the other week on my ThinkPad. And again, that's already at 1.4 thousand views. Seems to have been really popular. Few people have commented they would have liked to see me go further. The trouble with Arch is that it's all about doing it yourself, and what I was trying to show was how to get a basic desktop up and running, and after that you have to do the work. I sort of accept that perhaps I should have just pushed it a little bit further and done something like perhaps getting sudo set up, installing Yay and installing pamac, and left it at that. So what I'm going to do as part of today's ramble is I'm going to fire up that ThinkPad, and we'll do just that. We'll set up sudo, we'll install Yay, and we'll set up pamac, and then it's over to you guys who want to follow on. Last week's video, just coming up to 400 views, I think now. It's always a little bit behind the web page, but when I actually click on play, the actual views seem to be more. I'm really proud of that video. My technical knowledge is not that of a dev or a sysadmin, and so it's about what I've picked up along the way. And I was aware that as we got onto the port forwarding, I started to struggle a little bit. And that sort of reflects what I think many of you probably find when you get to highly technical subjects. But I'm hoping that you found it useful. I was fully expecting that not to have that many views, because it wasn't clickbaity, it was quite technical. It was the sort of video that you go to, if you're searching for something like that you'll find it, but not the sort of video that you would perhaps watch for general entertainment. So that was good. I had no issue with that. And I think the channel is always going to do a sort of mixed approach. I'll do a few installations. Let me just move back to my main webcam. I'll do a few installations, but probably focusing only on those that I want to look at. When MX Linux is released, I'm certainly going to do a review of that. And the main reason being I was really impressed with it when I looked at it last time, and I want to personally see what the update has actually brought in. I've avoided touching the betas so far. I'm going to wait till the final release. I probably won't get involved in the Ubuntu's releases during October, simply because everybody else is going to be doing them. And it would just be a case of, here we go, here's another one. So nothing against the Ubuntu's, but if you want to see an Ubuntu install, there's lots out there already. One of the things that I did consider over the course of the last month was, well, let me just show this, and I'm sure you'll all be aware of it, the Richard Stallman thing, his controversial remarks that ultimately resulted in him stepping down or being asked to step down. I made a contribution to the debate, which I felt, personally, I presented a fairly balanced view of what I thought it was all about. But I'm really not about drama. And when I saw the various videos going up about Stallman, I thought, should I get involved in that? And I decided not to. Even though I could have produced a video that would, I am sure, have got plenty of views and lots of comments, both positive and negative. I don't ultimately want to make this a completely opinion-based video channel. I don't personally believe Linux or software in general should be politicized. I think the open source development model is wonderful, and it's wonderful because it's so efficient and effective. I mean, it's produced Linux. Should I be looking at moral arguments around that? Well, many people do. Stallman in particular does. Doesn't interest me. Really sorry, I don't care. I use Linux because I think it's a great operating system, and it really stops there. So I'm not interested in becoming a member of the Free Software Foundation. I'm sure I'll get some thumbs down for that. I'm not a politician. I'm just a desktop user. And I was thinking about this, and at the same time, it kind of raised the whole issue of monetization. And I thought to myself, if my channel was monetized, would I have gone ahead and looked at the Stallman issue and produced another video about it? And I think I probably would, you know, because if your channel's monetized, you've got to keep pumping out the material, because it's your, especially if it's your living, to make sure that you're getting the views and the subscriber count. And I have considered monetizing the channel. I don't know how many of you are aware, but you can't actually monetize a YouTube channel until it gets to 1,000 subs. Well, now I'm at just over 1,500 subs. The option is there. I have made the decision, for a number of reasons, not to monetize the channel at the moment. Excuse me. The reason being, well, the financial benefits of doing so with 1,500 subs, as great as that is for a little niche channel in 4 months, are going to be minimal. Secondly, I think that if I did monetize the channel, you've then got the problem of all those adverts. And I personally find when I'm trying to watch a YouTube video, when there's adverts popping up before, during, those ones that break the video in half really irritate me. I find them quite annoying. And I know it's a necessary evil. If you're working hard to produce a YouTube channel that releases 3 or 4 videos plus a week, it's got to be done. But I'm not going to do it at the moment. I also quite like the fact that by not monetizing my channel at the moment, it gives me some choices. It gives me some choices about producing videos that may not get many views, but which I enjoy making, and I know that some of you will enjoy watching or find useful, but may not be clickbaity. They may not have thousands of views. They may only have 50 or 100 views, and they will only come up when people search for them. Something similar to the OpenSSH stuff that I produced last week. I quite like having that freedom. I don't have to chase the subs. In fact, I never started this channel to start chasing subs. So, yeah, it allows me the freedom to produce content that I think will be useful and that I think I would like to produce. It also frees me from having to put stuff out there constantly, little snapshot videos, just to get something out there in front of you. I think we've all seen these big channels that put out 4 or 5 videos a week, and I watch some of them and I think, really? What was that about? Was it really necessary to do that? Wouldn't it have been better just waiting until you had something a little bit more to say? But I understand their view. I understand why they do it. And don't get me wrong, if this channel ever grows, you know, to 10,000 plus, who knows? And I'm looking at retirement in the future. It may form a really useful source of income, and I may monetize it, but I've completely written it off for the time being. I think we're just going to go the way that we go. So what else have I got to say? Oh yes. I've been away all week, and I do try and catch up with YouTube stuff while I'm staying in hotels, usually watching it on my phone. And one of the things that I've sort of started to become interested in is microphones, the technology behind microphones. Now, this thing, the Blue mic, the Blue Yeti, has been absolutely astounding. I don't have to do anything with it. I just plug it in. I've set all the levels about the middle. I've got it on the cardioid setting, so it's relatively narrow focus, just on one side of the mic. The back side of the mic doesn't pick up anything. And to my ears, and I wouldn't pretend to be an audiophile, it sounds great. And a few people have commented that the sound quality on my videos is very good. Probably better than the visual quality with the webcam, but that's a different matter. That's more expensive to sort out, because that, I think, will ultimately require a DSLR, and we're a long way from going down that route. But whilst I've been listening to different reviews of mics, I started thinking, and you may remember this from my previous ramble, I said that I'm currently in the process of having a cabin built at the bottom of the garden to replace one that burnt down. And what I want to do as part of that is move my recording setup into that. We're still waiting for the rain to stop so the builders can start work, so it's been a little bit delayed, but we're going to get there hopefully before Christmas. And I thought, well, if I move everything down to the cabin, I still want something in this room so that I have got a recording set up. So maybe it's time to start duplicating some of the kit that I've got, so that I've got a workshop down in the cabin and my workshop here. It's also a great excuse to, you know, get shiny-itis and look for new kit. So this week I've ordered a new microphone, and it arrived this morning in its Amazon box. And let me show you what I've gone for. Don't know if you can see that. It's the Audio-Technica AT 2020. I've not taken it out of its box yet. I decided to go the XLR route rather than the USB route for a couple of reasons. Listening to all the reviews of different microphones, it seems pretty clear that the Blue Yeti is one of the best USB mics. But over the years, if I want to expand, and if the channel grows and I want to update the hardware, as you start to go up in quality, it seems that people tend to move towards an XLR mic. Now, one of the problems with an XLR mic is you also have to get one of these, an audio interface. And so I've bought myself a Scarlett Solo audio interface, which seems to be one that gets decent reviews. And although the mic itself was less expensive than the Yeti, by the time you've got the audio interface, it's significantly more expensive. But I'm hoping that's going to give me the flexibility to expand as the channel grows. And it's a new toy to play with. Come on, I just wanted to. What it's going to sound like compared to the Yeti, I don't know. I'm going to set everything up tomorrow. And certainly this week, I think I'm going to produce a video looking at the differences that I can spot between my USB Yeti and the new Audio Technica mic. My decision on the Audio Technica, by the way, was the result of watching many YouTube videos. And it seemed to come out as one of the best. I was torn a little bit between that and the Rode XLR microphone that's around the same price. Can't recall its name right now. But after watching a whole range of reviews, it seemed to just have the edge, the Audio Technica. So we'll see. I've gone with that. I also very much wanted to keep the condenser mic, so I've got it hanging down here like the Yeti. Excuse me. I know that the dynamic mics can be very good for avoiding sound interference, but actually it's quite quiet in here. And I don't want to be speaking 3 or 4 inches from the mic all the time. I quite like to just hang it up here and know it's going to pick up my voice. So watch this space. What else am I going to talk about today? Oh, yeah, let's get more into the Linuxy side of things. I've said before, my rambles are exactly that. They are a ramble. They're pretty much unplanned, although I have a few things I want to say. Just a quick experiment, really. Let me go to my desktop. You can see that I'm still using my Arch Linux desktop. Very happy with it so far. And I'm not surprised. I've run Arch for quite a while. I only had a small break in it. People say it's unstable. Personally, I've never found a problem with it. But I do like to experiment. And let me show you one of the things I've been experimenting with. So, you can see my desktop in front. I find Mate, you won't be surprised to know, suits my workflow. That's some word, isn't it? Workflow. The way I play with Linux. I find it suits very well. And I tend to be quite mouse-driven in what I do. However, I did use i3 for a while, and I got quite attached to dmenu, which seemed to work really well. And for those of you who don't know, dmenu is simply a little menu that you bring up with a keyboard shortcut that allows you to call a particular program, and you do it all from the keyboard. Works really well. And I thought to myself, I wonder if I could actually get this to work. And so I installed, not dmenu itself, but a variant of it called J4-dmenu, which I personally found to be better than the standard dmenu. It tended to find all my programs. So I installed it. I set up a keyboard shortcut, which is simply the Windows key plus D. And let me show you what happens. Windows key D. I get the little D menu up there. I then type what I want, let's say Pluma, and hit enter, and it opens. Brilliant. So I now have the option to be able to open a program without having to go through the menu. I can, of course, do something similar just by hitting the Windows key in Mate, and it brings up the menu anyway. But just nice to have the option, the extra option. How did I actually get this all working? Well, if I go into the control center, I installed the program J4-dmenu. I opened my keyboard shortcuts. I went all the way down and I created a custom shortcut for dmenu. The command is actually J4-D menu-desktop. All good. And I attached it to mod 4 plus D, which is simply the Windows key plus D. Brilliant. Little how-to. I may well consider even taking the brisk menu away if I continue to use it. So that was a little bit of nothing that wasn't actually planned in, but it just suddenly struck me. I know what I've just done. Perhaps some people would be interested, and that's what this ramble is about. I'm just talking generally. Before we go on to sort of the final part where I'm going to fire up the ThinkPad and just finish off the Arch install, I know what I also meant to mention. I don't know how many of you out there produce these videos on YouTube or have a YouTube channel, but I'm constantly surprised at just how long it takes to produce a video. For the half hour, 40 minutes that I've been producing each Saturday, I tend to come up to my office around 12 o'clock, and it normally takes me till about 6 o'clock until the video is finished. I've uploaded it to YouTube and I'm waiting for it to process. I tend to set it on private initially because once processing is finished, it takes a while for the resolution to sort itself out and to actually for people to be able to watch it in full HD. But 6 hours for half an hour, 40 minutes, it's a long time, and it's not getting any quicker. Producing the videos in terms of time in front of the camera is getting quicker, but the actual chopping things up and getting it up there takes a while. It takes the whole Saturday afternoon. And so I'm sure you can appreciate this is one of the main reasons why there's only been one video each week for the past few weeks, because when I'm unable to produce anything during the week when I'm away for work, one video a week on a Saturday just leaves me Sunday. And my wife sort of insists that she sees something of me, which is fair enough. Now, the other thing I want to say, again, before we get onto the Arch stuff, is that I know I do quite long videos. Rather than a quick 10 or 15 minute snapshot. And that's largely been because I personally tend to watch YouTube for entertainment and to learn things. And I like to get the whole story. And there's something in me just wants to produce a start to finish video, irrespective of how long it takes. I know I'm going to have to force myself to start thinking more in the 15-20 minute mark, and I'm determined this week to produce a few shorter ones. But there are some videos that just aren't going to be short because of the very nature of it. And so I'm not monetized. I don't need to worry about that. So I will always produce a video that's as long as it takes. If some of you find that a bit irritating, I'm sorry, but at least I'm trying to put the complete thing up there. Just as an update, in terms of rendering the video, I've played around with all sorts of things, and OpenShot is the consistent program now that I use. It's stable, it's working really well. I did like Olive. I like Olive a lot, but the one from the AUR at the moment seems to mess my sound up. I know it's very much an early alpha, so I'll keep playing with it, but OpenShot seems to be the program that suits my needs at the moment. So I'm going to stick with it rather than playing around. Anyway, let's move on to the last part. I'm going to fire up this laptop and finish off the installation. Okay, so you can see my Arch desktop in front of you, full screen. I haven't done anything with it as yet, so it still looks pretty horrible as far as the fonts are concerned. But let's set up sudo. The first thing you want to do is log in as root. And you want to install sudo. So I'm going to install sudo. I'm also going to install git. Proceed with installation. Yeah, absolutely. All done. You then simply issue the vi sudo command. And we move on to our sudo file, and you want to get to the section which says uncomment to allow members of group wheel to execute any command. Now you'll see I've already uncommented that. You would simply save that, and you can now sudo to your heart's content. Let me just demonstrate. So sudo syu. Oh. Helps if I put the pacman in front of there, doesn't it? Sudo pacman syu. There we go. There is nothing to do. That's because I just ran an update before bringing up this remote desktop. Some of you might be wondering what I'm actually using to remote into this laptop. It's a remote desktop application called X2Go, and I shall talk about that in another video in the coming week. So we've got sudo set up. Now, the next thing we want to install is an AUR helper. My preferred AUR helper is something called Yay, and you can install it from the AUR. Of course, we have no AUR helper installed at the moment. You can download it from the Arch website on the AUR page, but I found the easiest way to do it is to simply go to the GitHub page for Yay, and they have there a command to clone the archive, the Yay archive. So I'm just copying that. I'm actually going to come out of root here and go back to my normal user OTB, and I'm going to paste that git clone command in and hit OK. Done. Next, I'm just going to follow along. I'm going to cd into the Yay directory, and I'm going to issue the command make package -si. It's asking for my password. I'm going to enter my password. Proceed with installation, yes. And we'll let it do its thing. It relies on Go, the Go library. I believe it's built in the Go language, if I've got that right. And this takes a little while to download, as it's quite a large package. Nevertheless, though, it's a fairly simple process. So let's just wait for that to do its thing. Once it's actually grabbed Go, it will then no doubt do what it needs to do the rest of the installing. It doesn't take that long, but you have to remember that what it's actually doing here is building the package from source. So let's see how long it takes. If it takes much longer, I'll suspend this, but I don't seem to remember it takes long at all normally. Ah, right, here we are. Proceed with installation, yes. Done. Okay. Let's check it's working. Now with Yay, you don't need to use sudo. It will prompt you for a password should you need it. It uses exactly the same syntax as pacman, so I'm just going to do a refresh now by hitting Yay -syu. There is nothing to do. All seems to be working. Okay, So we've got sudo set up, we've got yay set up. The last thing that I said I would do is I would install pamac. That is in the AUR repository, so we need to use yay for that. So I'll type yay -s pamac -AUR. And it's asking me, do I want pamac -AUR or pamac classic? We're going to go with the first one. Remove make dependencies after install, yes, please. Diffs to show, I'm just going to hit no. Proceed with installation, yes, please. It's downloading all the dependencies that are required and it will build pamac. This may take a little while, so I'm just going to pause this video and we will come back in a second. Okay, so we're all done. Pamac AUR is now installed. It only took a couple of minutes after I left off. It automatically appears here in the system tray. I obviously need to play around with the icons because the default icon set clearly doesn't suit it. But if I click on it, here we have pamac. Now, the first thing I want to do with pamac is I want to go into preferences. At which point it asks for my password. As I go into the password, I'm going to look for enable AUR support. Click OK on that. And also I like to click check for updates from AUR and close. So now, if I click on repositories, we've got core, extra and community. However, if I do a search, so let's have a look at, I don't know, let's pick pamac, which we've just installed. It brings up the AUR version and all the other bits and pieces that are to do with it, including the Git version. Now, all I would say is a GUI software updater is brilliant if it works consistently. Pamac does not work consistently. It often seems to get stuck during the build process for me. Therefore, I don't use it for installing packages. I use pamac as an update notifier and also as a method of searching to see if a particular package is in the AUR. Once I've done that, I just use the command line. Each week when I run my upgrades, I do a standard pacman -syu to upgrade all the packages from the standard Arch repositories. I then run a yay -syu and it goes off and finds any new packages from the AUR and builds them. That's how I keep my system up to date. So I think that's all I wanted to do today. Really has been a ramble today, but I had quite a lot to say. And I know that this is about really people who just want to listen to an update. It's not going to be of interest to everyone, so I'm not expecting a huge amount of views on this. But I wanted to keep in touch and let you know where I'm up to. I will be producing some other stuff this week. I'm not sure when. They are likely to be shorter videos as I have a few things planned for my week off, but there'll be more than the normal. But thanks very much for this. Hope you've enjoyed hearing the update and have a great weekend. Well, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please like and subscribe. It really helps. And stay well until next time.